let's talk about it. Kevin Durant. He has been rumored now for the last couple of weeks to be on the move. Managed via the new Suns owner, wants to be very hands-on with the organization. It sounds like Durant does have a few teams that he would prefer to go to, though the Suns do not have to oblige to that request. Josh, I'm going to throw something out there that nobody in the sports media world has mentioned.
Okay.
You know who should trade for Kevin Durant?
The Toronto Raptors.
No.
The Washington Wizards.
The team that is currently down 3-2 in the NBA Finals.
The Indiana Pacers?
The Indiana Pacers should trade Pascal Siakam for Kevin Durant. Here's why. Tyrese Halliburton is a playmaking point guard. It is very hard for you to win a championship. Go back in history. Outside of Magic Johnson, who, when he won his first couple of championships, obviously he wasn't the number one guy. He had Kareem. And then in the second iteration, when it was Magic winning the show, he was still scoring, even though he got those high assists. It's very hard to have a Jason Kidd or a Steve Nash type point guard, which is what Halliburton is, a true point guard, lead your team in scoring and assist and win a championship. SGA is not the Halliburton type. He's more of a shoot first, score first point guard, where again, Halliburton is more pass first. I can make a case for the Indiana Pacers, and I have not thrown this in the trade machine yet, so I don't know how the money would be. I know Miles Turner is on an expiring contract. But let's say, for the sake of argument, you trade Pascal Siakam for Kevin Durant straight up. What this will give you is Tyrese Halliburton is still the leader of your team. Kevin Durant is not the leader. Kevin Durant will be asked to go get a bucket. Pascal Siakam, as great as he is down low, as good as he is that can shoot the three, he cannot create his own shot. Kevin Durant can. And when Halliburton is not getting going, what are the Indiana Pacers missing? A second guy who can create his own shot. That is Kevin Durant. And I think in a week East, where we're about to talk about what the Magic did, we're going to talk about what the Cavs may or may not do. We're going to talk about what the Knicks may or may not do, and it sounds like may not do. I actually think, I can't believe nobody's bringing this up, I think Kevin Durant is a perfect fit for Indiana.
It's an interesting proposition that I hadn't even thought about. It could work, but I don't know if that's I hate to say this because it is Kevin Durant and the Pacers are in the finals, but I don't know if that's the type of team Durant wants to go to. So check this out.
What do you mean? Are you saying he doesn't want to go to a winner? Are you saying he just wants to go hoop? Because even if, let's face it, Indiana would be a better situation than Miami, who's on his list. Yes. I know it's cold weather. I get it. And maybe that's part of it. That's why San Antonio and Houston are on the list as well. But my argument with Houston is he's still the number one. Unless Sengun grows and becomes that guy, or Ahmed Thompson, which I think is still going to take time, which I would think Jalen Green would be a part of the trade package, unless it's San Antonio, who I like Wemby, but it's going to be a lot harder to win in the West, though I think they could certainly be contenders. My point is the Pacers, we know, are ready to win now. And you get Rick Carlisle, who's a very good offensive coach. They don't play very much defense anyway, so you're not missing that much when it comes to Siakam and Durant on defense. I don't know. I kind of like it about the Pacers, to be honest with you.
It's not a bad, I'll say it like this. It's not bad. It could work because the Pacers have basically said, Tyrese Halliburton, this is your team. So all Durant would have to go do is hoop. And he's shown that he doesn't really want the spotlight anymore. Which is why,
as I've said numerous times, and I will fight back with anybody on this. In Brooklyn and now in Phoenix, both situations, Kevin Durant was not the problem. In Brooklyn, he was dealing with James Harden basically at the end, trying to get fat and get out of there. Ben Simmons, who refused to shoot, and Kyrie Irving dealing with vaccination BS. And now in Phoenix, the Devin Booker Bradley Beal move never made any sense. They should have kept Chris Paul. I actually think a Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant team could have worked. I just think Devin Booker, Bradley Beal's games are too redundant, and they don't have a bench. In my situation here, you're going to the East, which is a lot easier than the West. And for the most part, you're going to keep your bench guys.
Yeah. I'd have to think about it more. I don't know. But let me throw this at you. Because I saw a report that said Kevin Durant wanted to go to the Knicks, but they're not interested.
Yeah, that's what I was alluding to when I said the Knicks would say probably not. I think that the Knicks, and we're going to talk about this team in our next topic, I think the Knicks and the Cavs look at these Indiana Pacers and think, we're good. We don't need Kevin Durant. We don't need to make a move because nobody is afraid of the Indiana Pacers because nobody actually believes the Indiana Pacers can do what they did this postseason again. I'm not saying me or you don't believe it. I'm telling you by the actions of what NBA executives believe. They believe that this Indiana Pacer team is a good team who made a lucky run by making 5 shots at the buzzer by Tyrese Halliburton, and that it's not going to happen again. It's why Milwaukee is keeping Giannis, because they would generally feel like, oh, we improve our bench, we do a couple of things here or there, we can beat the Pacers, and we could be in the finals. Why do you think Orlando went out and got Desmond Bane, who we're about to talk about? Because they said, if we get one more shooter, hell, why couldn't we be the Indiana Pacer of next year?
Yeah. As a Cavs fan, what does worry me is like we couldn't handle the physicality of the Pacers. They just bullied us overall in that series.
But you know what executives will think? They'll think, oh, these I can tell you what Kobe Allman thinks, because Kobe Allman's a loyal guy. Oh, my guys are going to get tougher next year. It's just going to take one more year and then we'll get tougher, even though that's not the way in reality it works. Yes. I do think it's fascinating. The Knicks seemingly are going to hold pat with a new coach, and maybe he'll bring a Kenny Atkinson like move to the Knicks, and that'll take him to the next level. I think Kevin Durant to New York would work very similarly to Kevin Durant to Indiana, but for the Knicks, as I've talked about previously, I would want to keep Cat and move up Bridges as opposed to trading Cat for Durant.
Yeah, and in terms of Kevin Durant, like his preferred destinations are Miami, Houston, or San Antonio. If I'm the Spurs, I like where I'm at right now. I've got Wembanyama. I like Castle alongside him. You got the number 2 overall pick. I would not make the move for Kevin Durant right now if I'm the Spurs. If I'm Houston, I would make the move if I'm the Rockets.
So Houston needs him more because Houston's in a better position to win right now. But I would argue if you're the Spurs, they're not giving up both Castle and the number 2 pick. They probably only have to give up Castle. So let's say you keep Chris Paul, you keep De'Aaron Fox, you have Wemby, you have Durant, you have the number 2 pick. That's a really good basketball team. I know out West it's very challenging, and to get through OKC is going to be hard. But if you get Durant, it makes your life a lot easier as opposed to going through a Durant with the Houston Rockets. And so that's why if I'm the Spurs, I actually think I make the move, because I think Durant and Wemby is a pretty lethal combo myself.
I understand what you're saying, but I really like, just as an outsider from what I saw, I really like the trio of Castle, De'Aaron Fox, and Wembanyama together. Plus, like I said, you're going to get a very good player in the number 2 overall pick.
Well, are we sure about that? How long is it going to take for this kid to develop? That's the issue I have. He could be amazing. He's not Cooper Flagg. If it was Cooper Flagg, if the Spurs got the number 1 pick, it'd be a completely different story.
Okay, I do see what you're saying, but it does sound like the Spurs are probably going to go with Ace Bailey out of Rutgers. That's
everything I hear, he has star potential, but is it going to take 3 years?
That part I I do question like you are.
So here's the thing, right? If we think Ace Bailey is going to be a very good player, let's say he turns into Jalen Williams. Let's just give that example because it's taken Jalen Williams for a couple of years to get to where he was at last night. If he becomes Jalen Williams, or let's say for sake of argument, Ahmed Thompson, who we all think is going to be a star for Houston, but it's taken him now. This is going to be his second year, potentially a third year. If that's the case, if I'm on this timeline knowing I could get Kevin Durant in this West, I think I just bite the bullet and say screw it because I have more picks in my ammo anyway, and I just go get Durant.
Whereas if I'm the Miami Heat, I'm looking to get Durant because we just talked about it. The Eastern Conference, there's not a dominant team where you're like, oh, we got to get through them to get to the NBA Finals. It's not like in the West where you got Oklahoma City, Minnesota, Dallas, if they get all their stuff together, Houston, San Antonio, Lakers. You know, you have very good teams out in the Eastern Conference. I think Boston's going to be down a little bit because of Jason Tatum. But you've got Orlando on the rise, Indiana, Cleveland, New York. But there's not really a team, and Milwaukee, but there's not really a team there that scares you. So
here's the problem with Miami. Durant has to be the number one. He has to be the leader because it's not Bam and it sure ain't Tyler Hero.
Here's my question for Miami. If you want to get Durant, do you have to give up either Tyler Hero or Bam Adebayo?
Well, if that's the case, there's no way they do the deal. I think the only way the deal makes sense is if you keep them both.
Can they make that work, though, for the Miami?
Well, it depends. Does Phoenix want to compete or does Phoenix just want draft picks? Like, if I have the Suns, the best deal that's out there, if they would do it, is Cat. Because he's on Devin Booker's timeline.
Yeah. From what I've heard, the Suns aren't really impressed with any of the offers, Houston, San Antonio, or Miami.
Because they think they're going to get a Desmond Bain type offer, and it's not going to be that because NBA trades are weird, and as we saw with the Luka trade, all things are not considered equal.
Yeah. And they're still kind of hoping Kevin Durant will reconsider and go, no, I do want to play with Anthony Edwards up in Minnesota.
That's the move that I think he should want to. I don't understand why he doesn't. He almost feels like it's an insult. It's like he'd be going to Golden State again, which I don't feel that way.
Right. And I forgot to include Minnesota when I was talking about some of the powers in the West. Oh, and Denver. Excuse me. Sorry, Jokic.